Well, good morning, my beautiful stars. I hope you are all doing well. Well, as promised, here comes the first episode of the podcast that I'm going to be doing. I'm still working on some images and everything else that I might improve over time. But in the meantime, you can just feel free to listen and enjoy. You don't have to watch, but if you like, there are some beautiful images on screen that will actually be brilliant for you guys to watch and enjoy, or just play on your screen while I'm doing the podcast. I was originally going to do a 5-series podcast, but as I was doing my research, I actually decided that I'm going to be doing a few more episodes. So let us jump off with this whole discussion that was set off by the statement of the king of many faiths, or other faiths, or all faiths, that stirred up quite a controversy. And please note, this is not an attack on any religion or any belief system or anything. This is digging down into organized, let's note the word organized religion, and what organized religion has done over the centuries to divide, to unite, and to control. So let us dig into episode 1. Please do enjoy. My dear stars, before there were nations, before there were dominations, before there were religious institutions, there were people searching for meaning. Every civilization has asked the same question. Who are we? Why are we here? What happens after death? Is there something greater than ourselves? And those questions are universal. The answers have never been truly answered. Throughout history, humanity has created thousands of religions, traditions, and spiritual paths. Many have brought hope. Many have inspired extraordinary compositions. Many have preserved wisdom through the darkest periods of history. But history also tells another story, a story that becomes difficult to ignore, a story where organized religion, note again, organized religion and political power become deeply intertwined, where belief become identity, identity become loyalty, and loyalty became a tool of empire. This series is not an attack on faith, as I said, nor is it an argument against God. It is not an attempt to tell Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, spiritual people, or anybody else what they should believe. This series instead is an investigation into what happens when spiritual teachings become institutions, organized religion and dogma, when institutions become political, and where political power begins deciding who possesses truth. Because history suggests something remarkable. The greatest division amongst humanity have really begun with ordinary believers. They have often begun where religion, politics, and power meet. So let that sink in for a moment. Now, let's look around our world today. We, humans, continue to divide ourselves. Christian, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Buddhist, Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, Sunni, Shia, liberal, conservative, nation against nation, neighbor against neighbor. History repeats itself because humans begin to repeat the stories they inherit. Yet, beneath every label, every flag, every denomination, every institution stands a human being asking exactly the same question that our ancestors asked thousands upon thousands, if not millennia or millions of years ago. Questions about suffering, questions about purpose, questions about hope. If our deepest questions are shared, why do our answers so often separate us? Perhaps the answer cannot be found in today's headlines. Perhaps we must travel back much, much further back to a time when Christianity itself was not yet one unified religion, organized religion. Back before doctrines had hardened, back before the great councils, and even back before empires recognized the political power of religious unity. Back to a forgotten library hidden beneath the Egyptian deserts. Go back, December 1945. The Second World War had just ended. Europe lay in ruins. Entire nations were rebuilding. And while the world's attention remained fixed on recovering from the war, history was quietly waiting beneath the sands of Egypt. Near the town, near the town of Nahamedi, a farmer named Muhammad al-Salman and his brothers were digging for fertilizer. Their tools struck something solid. An enormous sealed clay jar. According to latter accounts, Muhammad hesitated before opening it. Local folklore warned that ancient jars sometimes imprisoned powerful spirits. Breaking the seal could release terrible, terrible misfortune. Eventually, curiosity overcame fear. The jar was smashed, and inside there was no gold, no jewels, no royal treasure, only books in inverted commas. Old leather-bound books or scrolls, dust-covered, weathered, and fragile. At first glance, they appeared almost worthless. Yet, those forgotten manuscripts would become one of the most significant archaeological discovery of the 20th century. Just think about it. A world in ruin, and then something suddenly was found under thousands, millennia of sand. Inside the jars were 13 leather-bound codices containing more than 50 separate writings. Some were gospel, some were some were philosophical discussions. Others contained prayers, mystical reflections, and visionary literature. Many of them had never ever been read in the modern world. The texts were written in Coptic, the language spoken by Egyptian Christians during late antiquity. Most scholars believe that these manuscripts were copied from earlier Greek writings composed during the 2nd and 3rd centuries. For historians, their significance was extraordinary. Until this discovery, much of what scholars knew about certain early Christian movements became far more critical. Church leaders who argued against them. Now, for the first time, many of those communities could speak for themselves through their own surviving words. The discovery did not overturn Christianity, nor did it prove that mainstream Christianity had been fabricated. What it did reveal was something equally fascinating. Early Christianity was far more diverse than many people imagine. Different communities emphasized different teachings. Different churches preached different traditions. Different believers understood Jesus in a profound different ways. History, it turns out, was more complicated than a single story. And complexity is often where understanding begins. So let that sit with you. Think about it and just reflect. Then the question, why were these writings hidden? There's no surviving eyewitness account that answers this question with certainty. Many historians believe they have been concealed during the 4th century after church leaders increasingly condemned certain writings and theological movements as heretics. If that is correct, someone had a conscious decision not to destroy these books, but to preserve them, to hide them, to entrust them to the future. Imagine that decision. Someone believes these writings were valuable enough to risk everything. Someone hoped that one day, centuries later, another generation might read them with fresh eyes. Whether that hope was fulfilled is the journey we now begin. Because these forgotten books raises a question or questions that echoes across nearly 2,000 years of history. Who decide what becomes orthodox? Who decides what becomes heresy? And what happens when spiritual authority becomes inseparable from political power? These questions would shape empires, influence kings, divide nations, inspire reformers, silent mystics, and leave a legacy that is still with us today. In the next chapter, we will begin reading the voices that history almost lost. And that, my dear friends, is the first installment of this series that we are going to be diving into deeply and profoundly. So if you enjoy this, I know this is different from the tarot readings, but I thought, let us explore this and you will not miss out on the tarot readings. This is just to fill in and provide you guys with some more depth and more understanding. Because just for a second, stand back and think how you feel when you tell somebody that you are spiritual, or you tell somebody that you watch tarot, or read tarot, or interpret tarot. Just imagine the reaction that you get. And now let us have a look how all of this ties in together into one thing that has caused organized religion, that over the centuries has caused division and also coherence. And as I said, this is no attack on any religion whatsoever. We are just digging deep into the past. We are looking to see how narratives were formed and how dogmas were created to control us as a human species over millennia. So please enjoy the series. Leave a like, share it, and leave a comment. I would love to hear from you and what your interpretation is. So this is the end of episode 1. See us in part 2 of episode 1. I will speak to you all soon. Love, light, and I love you all, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.